You can hear your own heartbeat. It echoes off the marble walls louder than the footsteps behind you. The saffron veil clings to your face, and through its thin weave, you see the doorway ahead. Not the threshold of a marriage bed, but something else entirely. Something the women in your family never named aloud. Flavia stops walking. For just a moment, her bare feet refuse to move forward on the cold stone. She is 18 years old, and until this morning, she believed she understood what marriage meant. The public ceremony had been beautiful, almost reassuring in its familiarity. The orange veil, the ritual braids, the witnesses smiling as walnuts scattered at her feet. Her father had signed the contract. The priest had declared the omens favorable. Everything had followed the proper order, the respectable sequence that every Roman family recognized. But now, as the heavy door closes behind her, and she sees the figures waiting in the dim atrium, Flavia realizes that the real ceremony is only beginning, and this one has no script she was allowed to read beforehand. Before we go any further, I have to pause and say, it amazes me that a story this buried, this deliberately erased from memory, can still reach people all over the world today. If you're watching from another continent, another century of thinking, drop a comment. I think you'll understand why this matters by the end. The year is 89 AD. During the reign of Emperor Domitian, Rome stands at the height of its power. Aqueducts stretch across provinces like stone veins, carrying life to distant territories. Libraries hold the collected wisdom of conquered civilizations, Greek philosophy, Egyptian astronomy, Carthaginian agriculture. The legal system is so intricate that scholars will study it for millennia, marveling at its precision, its careful balance of rights and obligations. This is a society that prides itself on order, on reason, on the careful documentation of every transaction and every rite of passage. Birth certificates are filed, property transfers are witnessed, marriage contracts specify dowries down to the last silver denarius. Rome is an empire built on records, on the written word, on the assurance that civilization means transparency, accountability, the rule of law applied equally to all citizens. Yet inside the house of Marcus Petronius Rufus, a grain merchant of respectable lineage, something is happening that will never appear in any public inscription, something that hundreds of thousands of Roman brides experienced, but that history would spend centuries trying to forget. The paradox is almost unbearable. How could the same culture that gave us philosophy and engineering also create a wedding night that required medical witnesses, legal verification, and a ritual so disturbing that even ancient writers struggled to describe it plainly? How could the society that produced Cicero's eloquent defense of human dignity also reduce young women to examined objects on their wedding nights? The answer lies in what Flavia is about to face, and in understanding why her mother wept that morning, not from sentiment, but from memory. It lies in the uncomfortable truth that civilization and brutality are not opposites, but often companions, each one providing cover for the other's excesses. The atrium is larger than she expected, and far more crowded. Flavia had imagined privacy, perhaps a quiet moment with her new husband, to ease the strangeness of suddenly sharing a life with a man she had met only 3 times before today. She had pictured nervous conversation, gentle uncertainty, the awkward tenderness that stories sometimes promised. Instead, 7 people stand arranged around the room like pieces on a game board, each one serving a specific function in a ritual that predates anyone's memory of its origin. The arrangement is deliberate, theatrical, designed to create maximum visibility while maintaining the formal structure that Romans believed separated civilization from chaos. To her right stands the pronuba, the matron assigned to guide brides through the sacred rites. She is perhaps 50 years old, neither beautiful nor ugly, her features worn smooth by time and repetition. Her face shows neither kindness nor cruelty, only the weathered patience of someone who has witnessed this scene dozens, perhaps hundreds of times. She wears dark robes that blend into the shadows and holds her hands clasped at her waist with ritual formality, like a priestess at an altar, though what she serves tonight is not exactly divine. Beside her, a priest murmurs prayers in archaic Latin, words so old their meanings have calcified into pure tradition. He rocks slightly as he chants, eyes half closed, lost in syllables that were ancient when his grandfather was young. The prayers invoke household gods, ancestral spirits, the divine forces that Romans believed governed every transition from one state to another. But there is something perfunctory about his devotion, as if even he finds this particular ritual uncomfortable, preferring the abstraction of prayer to the concrete reality unfolding around him. In the corner, 3 enslaved women wait with ceramic jars and folded linen cloths. They are young, perhaps only a few years older than Flavia herself, brought from Gaul or Germania, their native languages long suppressed. Their eyes are lowered, trained to a submissive angle that allows them to see everything while appearing to see nothing. They have learned this survival skill, to be present but invisible, to witness without remembering, to participate without claiming any authority over what they've seen. Their bodies are tense, ready to move at the slightest gesture, trained to anticipate needs before they're spoken. Against the far wall sits a man Flavia doesn't recognize, older, perhaps 40, with graying hair and the confident posture of someone whose expertise grants him social access across class boundaries. A leather bag rests at his feet, its contents mysterious but somehow ominous. His presence makes her skin prickle with unease, though she cannot yet articulate why. She will learn soon enough that he is a physician, though his role tonight has nothing to do with healing. He is here to document, to verify, to serve as an instrument of the law rather than medicine. His gaze, when it lands on her, is not unkind. It is worse than that. It is neutral, professional. The look of someone appraising livestock or checking the quality of imported grain. He sees her body as a problem to be solved, a question to be answered through empirical observation. There is no malice in his examination, which somehow makes it more dehumanizing than cruelty would be. But what draws Flavia's attention most intensely is the object in the center of the room, covered by a heavy cloth that reaches nearly to the floor. Its shape is irregular, too tall to be furniture, too deliberate in its placement to be accidental. The fabric drapes over something that stands upright, something approximately the height of a person's torso, something that creates an unmistakable silhouette even through the covering. No one has mentioned it. No one looks directly at it. Yet every person in the atrium is positioned in relation to it, as if the entire room has been arranged around this single hidden thing. The witnesses form a semicircle that focuses attention toward the covered object. The lamps are positioned to illuminate it once revealed. Even the priest's prayers seem directed toward its location, though he carefully avoids pointing or making any explicit reference. The silence around the object is loud, aggressive, demanding acknowledgement through its very insistence on being unspoken. The pronuba steps forward and takes Flavia's hands. Her grip is firm, almost comforting, except for the absolute certainty it conveys. This will happen. Resistance is not a possibility. Considered within the framework of this ritual. Her palms are dry and slightly rough, the hands of a woman who has worked, who has endured, who has survived by accepting what cannot be changed. The ritual acknowledges you have entered your husband's house, the pronuba says, her voice carrying the weight of memorized liturgy. Each word falls with practiced precision, shaped by decades of repetition. The gods must bless this union. The ancestors must witness your passage from daughter to wife. What follows has been done since the founding of Rome. It is sacred. It is law. It is the foundation of family and state. The words are beautiful in their way, dignified, ceremonial, invested with the authority of tradition. They transform what is about to happen from a violation into a sacrament, from an assault into an obligation. This is the power of language, the way societies use words to make the unacceptable seem inevitable, the traumatic seem sacred. Flavia wants to ask what exactly will follow, but her throat has closed. The question dies before it reaches her lips, strangled by fear and the sudden understanding that asking will change nothing. Her mouth is dry, her tongue thick and useless. She glances toward Marcus, her new husband, standing near the doorway. He looks pale, nervous, not with anticipation, but with something closer to dread. His hands clench and unclench at his sides. A thin sheen of sweat glistens on his forehead, despite the cool evening air. For a brief moment, their eyes meet, and she sees in his face the uncomfortable truth. He doesn't want to be here either. He is as trapped by expectation as she is, though his cage has different dimensions. His masculinity is being tested tonight, his worthiness as a husband measured by his ability to perform under observation. If he fails, the shame will follow him for years. If he succeeds, he will have participated in something he already knows he will spend decades trying to forget. But His discomfort offers Flavia no comfort. His cage may be different, but it has exits hers does not. He can leave this room with his legal status enhanced. She will leave diminished, no matter how perfectly she complies. The Pronuba releases Flavia's hands and gestures toward the covered object. The room falls into a silence so complete that Flavia can hear the oil lamps flickering, their tiny flames consuming air with soft, hungry whispers. Somewhere outside, a dog barks once and falls silent, as if even the animals sense that something significant is happening here, something that demands quiet attention. "You must first greet Mutunis Tutunis," the Pronuba says, and there is something in her voice now. Not reverence exactly, but a careful pronunciation, as if speaking the name requires precision, as if the god himself might be listening and judging the respect accorded to his title. He is the god of conjugal beginnings. Without his blessing, no marriage can be properly consummated. Without his preparation, a wife cannot fulfill her duties. Flavia has heard whispers of this name before, though always in fragments, always in contexts that were quickly shut down when younger women approached. Once, at a distant cousin's wedding, she heard two older women mention the god of the threshold, before falling abruptly silent when they noticed girls listening nearby. The phrase had seemed innocuous at the time, perhaps referring to Janus, the two-faced god of doorways and transitions. Another time, her mother had started to explain something about the old rites before her voice trailed off into an unfinished warning. When your time comes, you will understand that some traditions are not traditions at all. They are simply what happens. The sentence had hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning Flavia couldn't yet decipher. Her mother's eyes had gone distant, focused on some internal landscape of memory that Flavia had no map to navigate. Now, as the Pronuba walks toward the covered shape, Flavia understands with sickening clarity that her mother's tears this morning were not about losing a daughter. They were about remembering her own wedding night 30 years earlier, about knowing that history was about to repeat itself and being powerless to stop